Welcome to your real estate review with Alan Canis of Engel and Volker's Silicon Valley, your weekly getaway to the pulsating heart of the global real estate market. Join us as we bring you exclusive interviews with top producing real estate agents from around the globe. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, this is your insider look into the pros, cons, and the captivating allure of the world's most sought after locations. Let's discover where your next dream home awaits. Buckle up for a real estate journey like no other. This is your real estate review with Alan Canis of Engel and Volker's Silicon Valley. Welcome to your real estate review with Alan Canis. That's me of Engel and Volker's Silicon Valley. I want to give a warm welcome to Brent Tartamella, covering the island of Nantucket, also known as 30 miles out to sea. I love that.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm doing good, Brent. Thank you so much for being able to be on the program. Thank you.
My pleasure. A pleasure to be here, and you've interviewed plenty of really great people, so I'm honored to be in good company.
Well, I'm honored as well. Please know that. If it wasn't for everybody out there, I would not have a podcast.
There you go. True.
So we're going to dive right in. And would you start by telling us how, when, and why you are in real estate?
Yeah, so I jumped in 2016. I had an almost 30-year career in high-end hospitality and specifically private club management. That's what actually brought me to the island back in 2004.
Wow.
And 30 years in hospitality is a pretty good run, and it was 13 years at a developer-owned newer club. And my kid was a couple years old, and I had the real impetus was I had three friends who were three top agents at three different firms, and they were just going to build a better mousetrap, right?
Whoa.
Real estate on Nantucket had become a little complacent over the years, kind of more like order takers, and these guys were going to grind and work hard and be contemporaries and see what they could do to make the long play and the relationship focus and see how they could do that better. So
Hey,
in 2016, I made the jump, and it's been a fun ride ever since.
that's terrific. And where were you before Nantucket?
So I originally started up in Massachusetts, and so
Okay.
moving back to Nantucket, I thought would be great and be closer to all my buddies in Boston. But when you're 30 miles out to sea, might as well be anywhere. But no, most recently, I was in Philadelphia, and then before that, DC.
Okay, terrific. And what is your background in real estate and your specific experience with clients purchasing or adding to their portfolio for the of Nantucket?
Yeah, my experience really literally has only been on island, so
Okay.
serving the ultra high net worth individuals, again in the middle of the ocean, and typically their second, third uh, home adding to their portfolio. So when agents who are in America, as we call it, talk to me about their challenges, some of which I can relate to, the core tenets of real estate are all kind of the same. But we do have some inherent challenges out here. And so really that's kind of been the crux and the focus of my business is buyers, sellers, some commercial, but there's only so much commercial to go around. And because I am relatively new, it's really been more work with buyers,
Okay.
more buyer focused. Not that I'm opposed to listings, that would be really great. But that's just where the focus has been. And of course, now that we're almost entering 10 years, I'm seeing some of those first buyers begin to evolve and sell and trade into the next home, et cetera.
It starts to transform over. I
Yeah.
remember when I started in real estate, it was buyer, buyer, buyer. And now I've been since the middle of 2007. So I've been very fortunate in my career. And now it's mainly sellers that I
There you
work with.
go.
So it's moved over. It will transfer more for you.
Excellent. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
That would be great.
Um, what are some of the unique features or attractions of the area that make it an appealing destination for people looking to add to their portfolio?
Yeah, Nantucket. I mean, you have to love Nantucket, right? For the most part, it's very rare that there are pure investors who don't come or don't know the island. And so really it's all about, living a well-lived life that's outdoors and active, and whether you fish or want to be on the water, in the water, under the water, right? Diving, sailing, or fishing. There's miles of bike trails and hiking trails. Over 50% of the island is actually under conservation. So
Okay.
there's so many open spaces, and the climate in summer is phenomenal. Most of our constituents are coming from, say, Boston down to the New York corridor, and then a little less, but still prevalent, are Philadelphia, Baltimore, and DC. So it's a really easy, I say that in relative terms, easy place to get to, especially in summer with the extension of the airport runways and commercial and private jet access.
So you do have a large airport. Good
We
size.
we we do, and it's so interesting. COVID really, for the first time, forced homeowners to realize what it was like to be in Nantucket in the fall, and it's literally the most glorious time of year.
Wow.
Weather's still beautiful, the water temperatures are great, the crowds are less. But it was funny, homeowners who had been coming for, I don't know, 10, 10, 15, 20 years, they always used to leave before Labor Day, and they stayed, and they're like, wow, this place is really great. So our year-round population has grown slightly in addition to the workforce. So we're kind of a busy little island year-round and just a whole lot busier in the summer.
And how would you describe the current real estate market on the island of Nantucket? What trends should a potential purchaser be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, it almost relates back to the last question, which I didn't
Yeah.
answer, so I apologize. But when you look at the 40-year trend line of Nantucket real estate, minus the sharp dips, we are always the last to drop and the first to come back. So it's very much that V curve that everybody talks about. And every time, literally, I mean, not me, data, analytics shows you that every time we come back, we're higher than where we dropped. So you never want to say anything is a safe investment or guaranteed, words I never use, but you'll do pretty well. I always tell people as long as they don't have to sell in the dip, they're going to be okay. And so all of that to say is right now, while our transactions are a little less than the COVID years, the values are still strong and they've still been moving north. When I started, there was 6% of the market that was under $1 million. Now it's I think like 3%. That's less than $2 million.
Wow.
I've got a client who I was on the phone with today. Funny stories about how difficult it is to do uh, real estate on Nantucket sometimes. But I've been working with him for 7 years, and at one point earlier last year, when he was kind of debating on whether to put an offer in, I told him, I said, do you realize in the 6 years we've been working together, you cost yourself about $1.5 million?
Wow.
Because what he was looking at was 1.5, and now he's looking at the same home for basically 3 million.
He should have,
So
it's the shoulda, woulda.
yeah, yeah. But we dragged him. I literally, because we had a good relationship, I dragged him to the water, but I just couldn't make him drink. So no, it's a safe bet, and people are paying premiums for done because it is difficult to get work done and it is expensive. So no, it's a solid market, and when the economy's great, it's a good market. And actually, it's a different side of the old term, the Rolodex, but it's the other side of the Rolodex when the economy's not great because people want to invest in hard assets and they want to invest in what they know and what they love and what they'll use a little bit too, right?
People are going to be watching this and they're going to say, they're going to have to look up what Rolodex is.
Right. Sorry. I'm dating myself. I don't even know what the new term would be. The other side of the computer? I don't know.
Yeah. Uh, what, what are some of the common challenges or pitfalls that people face when purchasing in your island? And how do you help them navigate these?
It's a loaded question because Nantucket's beautiful, but it's all difficult. Sometimes just getting here, helping them navigate how to do that, right? They're trying to come see a property and the flights from JFK or wherever are canceled. And I'm like, listen, if it's a hot market and a hot property, I'm like, then you get in a car and you drive and then you take a boat. So navigating how to get here, but this morning's call was all about a septic system, right? They've instituted a new rule that all homes in a certain area, have to pass Title V and have new septics, and there's only so many engineers, and this buyer is getting really frustrated
I
because
can
there's this
understand.
one engineer was not getting back to him, and he said, "Just go get me another engineer." I said, "There's no other engineers. Like, this
That's
is your
rough.
guy." So we are at his mercy, just waiting and waiting for it to get done. And then you do what you can and use your local relationships to move it along. But even in this case, I was telling the buyer, I'm like, listen, the more I poke this surveyor, the farther down the list we're going to go
Yeah.
versus moving up the list. So I think we just try and be boots on the ground, and I would almost say we're translators, right? Of course, we're advisors, we do all that stuff, but we're translators to helping them understand what island life and island living is all about, and really how to live on the island. It's always fun to tell them about the restaurants and new openings, or get them references for caretakers and all that kind of stuff. But the challenges are really fun too.
We have challenges here as well, and the vendors are the contractors since COVID have dwindled down. And so what I find, what the biggest complaint that I hear from a contractor is that people aren't appreciative,
Hmm.
and they just want it, and when they want it now. And so I find wine, chocolate, gift certificates to show my
And
appreciation, because I am so thankful that they show up. And
100%. And sometimes some cold beverages on a porch step or something like at the
yes,
end of the day. A lot of the homeowners are really good because if you're building a home out here, no longer really is it a year. It's a 2-year process from permitting and everything. And some homeowners are so great and fortunate that they will throw contractor parties and thank everybody for all
that's
their hard work.
wonderful.
So to your point, it goes a long, long way.
It does. Would you give us a sense of lifestyle on the island? What are local communities like, and what kind of amenities may a newcomer expect?
Yeah, it's all really about celebrating outdoors and the best of island living. I have to qualify that by saying Northeast island living. Next time I'm told I'm going to go move to an island, I'm going to make sure my, latitude and longitude are lined up to be a little warmer year round. But Nantucket's great, and really, it's all about just being out and active and celebrating the beaches and the natural beauty and birding and boating and fishing and all of that, right? And
There's so
so
much to do.
there really is, from sailing and all the on the water activities, kite surfing, windsurfing, to the more landlocked on an island, but just taking strolls out into the thousands of acres that are under conservation. And we've got great dining, really top rated chefs, incredible wine cellars. I mean, the fortunate part of Nantucket, which makes it so special, is it's this combination of very small town community mixed with, I don't want to say international and be dramatic, but national culture and art. And so you have the dance festivals, and you have this thing called the Nantucket Project, which brings in the most current thought leaders in the world,
Wow. Yeah.
and so it's a really great balance. And one of the things that most people, both from year-round people who live there, year-round residents and summer residents, everybody really says they cherish the community most.
Community is important. And that is one of the highlights of anywhere where you're going to live, is the sense of community. The island of Nantucket is known for its beautiful weather. I hear that all the time. Would you talk a little bit about the climate? Because I understand you have all the seasons.
We do. We have all the seasons, and the people you've talked to haven't been there in January, February, and March. It's actually nice then too. For those who live there year round, we actually love this balance because it's so everything's like a contradiction, right? In the summer, you have worldly travelers and you have a high population and you have beautiful weather. I mean, you really don't even need air conditioning. It's just phenomenal. You open the windows, kind of old school air conditioning, you get a nice breeze. It's 70, 80. Rarely, there's maybe a couple days that'll get up to 90, but it's real quick. It's cool nights, and the fall is just delicious. And
Nice.
then and winter actually is really nice. It's just quieter, right? And so almost with that quieter, the weather matches that, and it's gray, and you tend to get some nor'easters and some storms, which will remind you that you're on an island when the boats don't run. Um, this winter was kind of fun. It was the first winter I'd seen in a while where the temperatures were so low, all the ponds froze over, which that's great. And when they do it for a long time, it's really good. But then it becomes a little concerning. When I was there in 2004, we had to send ice cutters down from
Oh,
Canada, Coast Guard cutters, to break up the ice in between Nantucket and the Sound so that the ferry boats could come through. That's when you really know you live on an island.
wow.
Yeah.
There's
So, but you have everything. You have everything.
is and speaking of climate, I know the island of Nantucket is known for its second, third, fourth home portfolio for people. Is there a business and economic climate on the island?
Oh, very much so. There's, I mean, retail, there's restaurants, and really we're in the construction and service business. Um, there's so many homes that are being built or being renovated. So construction services are huge, and then everything that services and supports these homes, from landscapers and cleaners and window washers. So there's a big commercial support group. And then there's a thriving and buckling downtown, like you would expect in any highly seasonal, tourist and
Oh, great.
destination.
At some point in time, it's on my list to visit the island. So it's there.
Let me know. You're
I,
welcome anytime. We'll
I
make a
can't
great
wait.
trip out of it.
From your perspective, what are the top benefits for someone considering to purchase on the island of Nantucket? Are there
Well,
tax savings?
there aren't really tax savings, but it's a safe investment. Again, when you look at the appreciation over the decades. And then if you can't, let's say you can't be here as much and you want to rent it out, there is a very good vacation rental
Oh,
market. So a lot of people will rent their homes, whether it's for economics in terms of, that's the only way they can afford the home, or they're a, young group and they just, can't be here as much. And depending on how aggressive you are with that, that rental revenue can offset significantly, if not come close to cover your operating expenses.
oh, it's terrific. That's good to know because
And
not
then
a
if you're
lot of places can do that.
no, 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 and if you're not renting, then you just get to see the appreciation of the home, which is, staggering. I always tell people if you're holding for less than 3 years, you probably won't see the appreciation.
Yeah.
If you hold 3 to 5, you will, and if you're over 5, you'll do very well.
That's what I tell my clients as well. If you 2 to 3 years, no. But
Yeah.
5 to 7, yes. And up to 10, you could double your investment. There's that
And we live in
possibility.
really special places, Joe.
Yes. In what ways do you, as a real estate agent, provide value to someone purchasing from another region or state? And how do you differentiate yourself from the other agents that are on the island?
Well, great question. I think twofold. One is there's 300 agents on our small little island, so too many. And out of the 300, there's probably about 100 that are active. And then there's out of that, I don't know, maybe it's 60, right? Who really, I mean, this is what we do day in, day out, every day, year round. And our goal is to make it as seamless as possible. So I have, for example, this one transaction going on, and they want the painters and the carpet installers, and they want to line all that up. So we will give them references. We'll meet the guys out at the house. We'll do all that stuff. And so the buyer who hasn't even closed on the house will have everything ready to go. So the day he closes, all his vendors will be lined up and the work can get done right away. And I think it's just, we in our realm group, we talk about a lot about just the cost of entry, right?
Yeah.
What you have to do to enter this market. And so I think we try and do all that. And I think I just try and do everything possible while still having some personal boundaries, everything possible that we can do. And it's like the hospitality service background that I have is like, what can you do? How do you anticipate what the buyer or seller or whoever you're working with is going to need before they even know they need it. And because this is what we do, right? Day in and day out. And so we can anticipate some of these challenges. And if we are transparent and proactive, um, that helps a lot. That's not really a tangible answer for you, but I
Yes, it
think
is.
that's just what we do.
I think it is a tangible answer because it is and you said the word proactive,
Right.
meeting the buyer needs before they even know they need it. And so by being on the island, you know all of these things. Where me, I don't. I know in my area, but not
Yeah.
the island of Nantucket.
Well, and even from a tech perspective, we really, I mean, it's overused the whole high tech, high touch comment, but we really try and live that. So before anybody was doing videos, we're doing videos and FaceTimes and Matterporting and getting those to clients, just to help make it seamless. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody was doing that. I'm like, wait a second, you're on an island 30 miles out to sea. How do people know what they're buying, right? And so even now, I'm like, well, it takes me 2 seconds to go do a video. As long as you don't mind my total unprofessional and sometimes corny comedy as I go through a house, let me get you a video. It's just like one step. And then they're like, oh, they're closing soon. Like, can you go back to the house and we need to figure out how many plates and what plateware and what we need to buy. So we spent 45 minutes at the house. We went through all the cupboards and the buyers are able to put their orders together and get here again for the day they close.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is thinking about purchasing on the island?
That's a good question. That wasn't on the list. No,
Oh,
just
yes, it
kidding.
was.
No, I'm kidding. Um, I think is that we're always at the height of the market, right? Everybody tries to time the market, and kind of like my example earlier, it cost this poor gentleman a million and a half dollars. You just have to get in when it's right for you.
Yeah.
When you've decided, hey, we want a home in Nantucket, it's not, hey, we want a home in Nantucket and we want to start looking. Listen, it can take some people, it takes a couple of years to do this, right? Because you say you want a home in Nantucket, and then it's like, well, how are we going to use our home in Nantucket? And how are we going to, I like to use Nantucket as a verb, right? How are we going to Nantucket? So you have to go through that. You have to see a bunch of properties, right? And go through all of that. And then it's like, okay, we're ready. And then somebody will say, yeah, I don't know, stock market, this market, that market, home prices. And I just heard a great line once that says, we are literally always at the height of the market, and tomorrow will be no different.
Yeah. That's so true for so many areas.
100%.
Yeah. Um, I am hearing because we've talked before regarding there is a buzz regarding the real estate market in Nantucket and that it can be a little crazy. Are you seeing multiple offers like we're seeing in other areas of the country?
Yeah, this time of year, it's really interesting. There are some houses that are sitting, right? And I've been telling buyers and sellers a lot at any price point, as long as it's fresh, clean, and neat, right? It will sell. So for us, our inventory is really low. We're less than 100 single family homes on the market right now.
Wow.
And some of those have been sitting. Rare is it that it's a bright, new, nice, shiny, cleaned up spot that is sitting. In the summertime, there's a little bit more of a frenetic pace. After COVID, that after everybody had bought and sold, um, there was a slowing and kind of a more of a return to the cyclical market. But during COVID was wild here as it was everywhere. Multiple offers, way over ask in cash and waiving inspections. Nowadays, it is for the right home, the home that appeals to the masses. Those homes are seeing multiple offers and things going quickly, but
Okay.
not frenetic, not unreasonable.
Yeah, we're seeing that as well. Pretty much almost anything under 3 million is moving within the first week,
Yeah.
and it's multiple offers. And the 5 million and above
Hmm.
are sitting a little bit longer, but the buyers are being very choosy on when they're spending that much money.
Right.
So those tend to sit a little bit longer.
For us, it's if I said anything under 2.5 that shows well, that's going to sell. And we do have that that 3 to 5 market, that's funny. That one sometimes staggers just the amount of inventory. But then what we found in the last 12 months is for us the higher end, and if you talk about Florida and Aspen, the high end is like we're not even
Yeah.
close, right? So for us, high end is anything over 10 million. Those seem to sell pretty quickly. We just had an off market home that was going to come on the market in spring. It just hadn't come on yet at $9 million, and that was sold in 2 weeks. So it's dependent. The market is very bifurcated,
Yeah.
um, and it depends, right?
Yeah. Where are most of your buyers coming from?
They're coming from that New England corridor, Boston down through New York City, and it's Boston. It's really suburbs of Boston, and then down to Fairfield and New Canaan and Greenwich and Connecticut, and then right down to New York City. After that, there we have like 10 spots, and they go Philly, Baltimore, DC. Then it jumps down to Palm Beach, or
Okay.
now more of Florida. They're not all so located in Palm Beach. And then you go to Houston. Dallas is now added in there. And then you go up to, Aspen Vale, out west to Pacific Palisades. And that kind of has you covered on 90% of the market.
Yeah, I think you've zigzagged.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of go down, around, and then out back.
How do you see the island of Nantucket evolving in the next few years, and what impact might it have on new residents?
Yeah, I think some of the evolution is going to be environmental, right? Sea level rise, and then actual erosion on the outer parts of the island. Um, Building prices, especially within the last, 48 hours, people are expecting building prices to go up. We are now at about 1,500 a square foot to build. You can get a little less, and you can go 10 times as much. Um, I think those are going to be some of the challenges for those people who want to rent the home primarily and stay there kind of when they can. Let's say they're just at that set of life where they do want and need to rent it, or going through the whole short-term rental debate. I say that we've been going through it for 5 years, where some of the town folks, where you really appreciate being a small town, is some of the town folks are not wanting the uh, short-term rentals. So that's been really interesting because I don't know, 2 decades ago we voted not to let any more hotels in, which then would push the short-term rentals
Ah,
to residences and homes. And now you have people saying, well, they don't really like the whole, hotel in my backyard. So it's an interesting debate that we need to find our way through, but that scares buyers, it scares some homeowners who count on that ability. I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, they may limit the short-term rentals a little bit to no less than a week, and that actually would be really beneficial. I know we need to do something, but we have to wait and see how that debate plays out. And that's anxiety producing for some buyers, and totally understandable.
it sounds like you should run for mayor.
That's any of us though, right? When we've been there, I've been there for 20 years, right? So
See, it's
and
time.
yeah, good. I've got two kiddos who are 16, and so once they're out of high school, maybe. But right now, I need to focus on home.
You talked a little bit about food. Can
Mhm.
you tell us about the culinary experiences that people could find on the island?
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. We're pretty fortunate. We've got a Relais Chateau property. We've got some incredibly well managed restaurants and chefs that are some of the, best in the world, really. And I know everybody can say that a lot, but these guys and gals are so well trained. And if you think about it, not just our area, your area, and
Yeah.
and the people we serve go to literally the best everything, the best in this case, dining, right? The best restaurants in the world. And so we have to be on par with that, whether it's the convenient grab and go, because I'm just trying to feed my kids, to a very swank night out where it's a gastronomic event. And yeah, we're really fortunate. These guys, they come in like crusaders, the chefs and all the service personnel, and they bounce between here and those other locations in Palm Beach and Aspen, or they'll go do massages in the New York City restaurants in the wintertime and then come back here. So it attracts great talent, and um, yeah, it's kind of fun.
That's
There's some
good to
great
know.
restaurants.
How do you think technology and online resources have impacted the way people approach real estate purchasing and adding to their portfolios?
It's amazing how many of the clientele that we work with who have really great relationships with all of us as agents and brokers and advisors, but like how much they also use Zillow. So, I mean, our firm's invested a ton into this really great user-friendly
I
website.
like how you whispered it. Zillow.
Zillow. But so it's really interesting. So I do think, the tech today, up till, whatever, a few years ago, it's really helped us. Again, just from getting the visuals and being able to take my phone and somebody has a question about the house next door or drones, because, hey, listen, if I build a second floor, will I be able to see the ocean or what's my view going to be like? So
Oh,
all those things have really helped. Where I do think we're primed for the next stage a little bit is in some of the AI information that we don't even know about yet,
yeah.
right? So I think you and I both try to stay up on that stuff. I'm a little bit of a student of it, but I'm curious how, like, if you could. Like, I've always had this idea, and I know somebody else is doing it. It's not revolutionary. I mean, talk to Ty Stockton, right? He's got some crazy virtual office or something. But I want to be able to
Yes.
take some goggles and send them to somebody and be like, hey, here's a matter, preloaded with a Matterport so they can walk through the house in real time, or not real time, but but from the comfort of their living room. It's one thing to see a Matterport on a screen, but it's another to put on a headset and be able to walk through the home. So,
I did that at not the last RGC, the one before it, and it
yes,
was amazing.
right?
Yeah, but you can only go so far as you're
True.
walking. Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, well, I do think there will be some other things like that, and then maybe it's just the ease of transportation, right? In technological advances, just from flights and jets and personal crafts getting here. I mean, who knows? I don't know what I don't know, but I think all that will help. And then, honestly, it's tech, but it's like the blockchain. I think
yeah.
that will help speed transactions up. I think our attorneys and our those things they're going to be slow to get onto that, but once they realize how much more efficient AI and blockchain can help, like if you have inspections on the blockchain that live with that property, like I don't know, I think there's a lot of fun, exciting things there.
Well, thank you. I have another one last question. It's not on the list. So, do you have a favorite realtor story that you'd like to share?
I think some of the transactions I've been most proud of are helping local families out. And one that comes to mind is last year, and I didn't participate in it at all. He's a FedEx driver. He's been working out here for 20 years. He's a dad. It's a family of three. Nantucket's a very hard place to live, right? For a year-rounder who's working, we're all working regular jobs, and
Yeah.
rents are $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and the wages don't match that, right? And everything's 30% more. Groceries are so expensive, it's not even funny. And so he came to me. He said he'd been working for 20 years, three jobs, year round, morning, noon, and night. Finally had $80,000 saved up. How can I help him buy a house? And lo and behold, we found we have an affordable housing trust and we have covenant house programs and all that. So we cobbled this all together and we were able to get him a house.
Oh, it's
Now it's
wonderful.
660 square feet for the three of them, but it is his piece of the rock, and he never has to worry about housing insecurity again. And he's a great story. of just how hard it is to work, how long he did it for, how he saved up, and it doesn't always work that way. You hear too many stories about teachers, police, firefighters who have to move off island. Some of our firefighting crew literally lives on the other side. So if there's a fire when they're not on shift, they're going to have to take the boat over to get to the firehouse to help out. So we're
Wow.
really working out on the housing piece. And yeah, that was one of my most favorite stories of the last couple of years.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, Brent, I want to thank you for being on the show. If anybody that's watching this, if you or someone you know is looking for a top realtor for the island of Nantucket, Brent is your guy. This is your real estate review with Alan Canis. Again, that's me of Engel and Volker, Silicon Valley. Thank you for listening.